What's up, Block fam? Welcome to the test ride video for the 2021 Yamaha MT-09 SP. Yes, we are starting in the middle of a field. Whenever I ride this bike, I feel like it's a big Grom, so I don't know, I feel really like encouraged to kind of take it off-road a bit. What my test ride videos are meant to do is to tell you how this bike feels in terms of power, acceleration, handling, ergonomics, ease of use with like the UI, like the display and the different modes and whatnot. This bike is absolutely beautiful. I am a big fan. Normally I go with black and gold, but this is black. It's got that Yamaha blue, bits of silver in there. They got the brushed swing arm and then those spots of gold as well, with the front KYB suspension and the Olean's adjustable rear monoshock. Also, you have a quick shifter and auto blipper, LEDs all around. They've got a brand new display here, which just looks incredible. Very vibrant, really bright, incredibly legible. Another one of the big talking points for this bike is the mono headlight, so it doesn't have those duals like it used to have. I don't know how to feel about it yet. I kind of like it. It's plenty bright. I've ridden it at night, and yeah, it lights. It provides sufficient light, that's for sure. But I don't really know. One thing I will say about the bike is this horn, it just kind of seems like it was thrown on there. Like, I feel like they could have maybe like tucked it away. It's just kind of like bloop, like thrown on right there. They could have easily, done it like back here maybe. Anyways, let's throw a leg over it, get to riding it. So I am 5'10", and I'll go ahead and get on the road just so it gives you guys a more accurate representation of how I'm sitting. But whenever I come to a stop, I sit with pretty much the balls of my feet are on the ground. I'm not quite flat-footing it. So when I come to a stop to feel even more confident, I put one foot down, and I keep one foot up. I keep my left foot up so that I can keep it over the shifter. So that's like in traffic and such, you want to get out of neutral, you click down and you're out of neutral and you're good to go. Say what's up to the Peacock here. Ow! So we're gonna get on this main road. I'm gonna go down into first gear and I'll show you guys how the acceleration looks like in the mode that I choose to ride in, which is drive mode 2, traction control mode 2 as well. That TCS, it does allow the wheel to come up a little bit, but it is very controllable. Really? Woo! Yeah, it's a powerful bike, guys. All right, real quick, go over the controls. Left side, you've got your mode button up here. Whenever you touch the mode button, it changes between your TCS and your drive mode. So drive mode is basically right there in the center now. Whenever I hit it, switches over to TCS mode and back. So basically, whenever you want to change the mode of either TCS or drive mode, you're gonna press that, and then you're gonna use this up and down to select which one you want. So in drive mode right now, this is weird. If you press down, it actually goes up. So I pressed down and it went to 3. Press down again, it goes to 4, and pressing up makes it go down. So 3, 2, 1. 1 is the fastest, least restrictive for the power. 2, obviously, the next up. 3, more restrictive, and then 4 is very tame. I would say I would equate 4 to like a rain mode almost. I'll go ahead and leave it in 4. We'll do an acceleration just so you guys can kind of see the difference. And then let's swap over to the TCS mode. And once again, you've got 3 modes here. So you've got TCS mode 2, M, and 1. So I'm going to leave it in 2 just because it's the most controlling TCS mode. Even with it in TCS mode 2, still managed to pull the front wheel up in drive mode 2. Also on the left side, you've got your high beam, low, and then press and hold for pass, indicates right there. And then you've got your left indicator, right indicator, press in to cancel, horn. And then you've got your cruise control. This was a very big reason that I held out for the SP model, was the cruise control right here. And then underneath you've got your hazards, indicates there. Right side you've got your stop, run, start, and then below that you've got a little jog dial, which is your menu selection. You can basically go between these 3, so odometer, your fuel gauge, and then settings. These 2 can basically be the same thing. So I'll go ahead and change the odometer. You press in on that, Now, the feedback whenever you press it in, it doesn't feel the best. It feels kind of clunky, and a lot of times when I press in, it actually scrolls up instead of pressing in. The options that you have for this, you've got odometer, trip 1, trip 2, fuel average, which is 38.6 miles per gallon right now, fuel cant, ambient temp, coolant temp, you've got fuel consumption, 2.8 gallon, trip time, and then back to trip 1, 2. So I'll leave it on odometer, and then you can switch down to that one and change that back through the same things. And then you've got your settings options, which you can go deep into this and change all sorts of settings if you want. Change your shift indicator. I've got my shift indicator pretty low right now, not that it matters because I'm going way over what the recommended guidelines are for braking period, but that's my personal preference. I ride my bikes from the get-go like I'm going to be riding them. Quick aside on that note, because I'm sure there's going to be many of you guys that tell me otherwise, but I have talked to many master level technicians in multiple different brands, and they've all said the same thing to me behind closed doors and off camera: ride the bike like you're going to ride it, and the engine will basically break into your riding style. So that's what I'm going to do. I've done that with previous bikes and I haven't had any issues, knock on wood. I'll find some wood somewhere here in a little bit. So yeah, you can go through the menu there, change all sorts of stuff, and we're just gonna exit and go back to the main screen. All right, okay, so drive mode 4. Let's see how it accelerates. Also, quick shifting, auto blipping, I am going to be using that. Quick shifting, basically, you don't have to let off the throttle. You also don't have to pull in the clutch. You just pull up on the shift lever, stops the engine for just a second to release the load on the transmission, and then has that moment to shift, and so it shifts over. These lights, basically QS, will either be up for quick shifting up or down for auto blipping or shifting down. So I'm going to show you guys what drive mode 4 feels like. Very tame. Much more tame than drive mode 2. I mean, hopefully you guys can see the difference between the acceleration that I did for drive mode 2 and drive mode 4. The cool thing about the different rider modes is that you can change them while on the go. So all you have to do is let off a throttle and then press, and then it changes over. So now we're in drive mode 3. You can tell like a pretty immediate change in the throttle response. Like, you guys probably can't see it as well as you can actually feel it. So when you're on the bike and you change those ride modes, you can definitely feel the change in the throttle. In terms of handling, feels just amazing. I got to remind myself to use that auto blipper. Let's get a good acceleration in 3 mode here. Mode, a little bit more responsive, not quite as much as 2 mode. We will drop it into 1 mode, and I'm pretty much going to leave TCS in 2 just because I don't want to pull any like super dank nooners, because I'm really not that good at wheelies. Drive mode 1. This is once again the most powerful. Plenty responsive. Alright, so we're just going to go back into 2 and kind of demonstrate some of the other features since you guys have now seen the acceleration. So using the quick shifter, I like to use it like kind of higher RPMs. I just feel that it responds better through that. But as you guys can see, that little green arrow there is telling you that you can use the quick shifter. And that little green arrow pretty much, it disappears like whenever you're just coasting and you're like not under acceleration. Also, a 6th gear, you don't have any more room to shift up, so if I pull back on throttle, there's nothing there. But if you let off the throttle, the little green arrow does light up saying that, hey, you can basically shift down. So that is me shifting down without using the clutch. And as you can see, the auto blip, it basically raises those RPMs back up so that you don't have to blip throttle like you normally would. Whenever I would shift down, if I'm trying to rev match, you basically pull clutch in, shift down, you blip so that you're trying to get those RPMs like in rev match. So if I was in 5, downshift, blip. So that's what I would do with a bike that doesn't have an auto blipper. Seeing as how this one does, all you have to do is press down and it does it for you. this road is a little bit of a suspension test. Suspension on this thing is awesome. KYB adjustable fronts, the Olean's mono adjustable rear. The suspension has not been tuned yet to me because it does vary based on like rider weight. So you do have to get it kind of dialed in for you. It isn't stiff, but it's not, you know, it's not like soft either. For those of you that haven't experienced like a tuned suspension, would highly recommend it. One of the big things obviously between feeling that suspension in the bumps is the seat. The seat on this thing, very comfortable. Now it's not like the comfort seat, but still really comfortable. Acceleration on this thing is just effortless, guys. It's amazing. Overall, like the handling of the bike, it just feels incredibly lightweight, very nimble, really easy to lean over. The braking on it feels awesome. So if you're basically, and especially as combined with the auto blipper, if I'm wanting to slow down, I basically start trail braking, start auto blipping, and you've got your trail braking plus the engine braking helping to slow you down. It feels like some Moto GP stuff. So you don't have that shift in weight with using the quick shifter or the auto blipper of pulling in your clutch, right? It just leads to much more like confidence whenever you're in the turns, especially. So you like downshifting here, just absolutely effortless. So I do like to keep the quick shifting at usually like a higher RPM. There are a couple times where I've done it between like first and second gear and it just shifts into neutral. Now I did hear that there are some manufacturers that handle that a little bit better than others. This one, if you're in first gear and you're trying to use the quick shifter to come up, what I've found is that like if you use the quick shifter kind of in a lower RPM in first gear, you tend to go into neutral. But as you guys can see in that first to second gear transition, I am waiting till usually above 5,000 RPM to shift. So that kind of helps to keep it from ever going into neutral, just because that's happened to me a few times and it's incredibly frustrating. I'll try to make it happen now, see, but even then, like, you guys probably can't see it too much, but at those lower RPMs, whenever you use it, it does kind of have like a judder to it. So I kind of feel like it's not the best for the bike. It's more meant to be used in those higher RPMs anyways. So my personal preference, I'll stick to using it in the upper RPM. And then obviously, like, you know, lower RPM, I'm not going to use the auto blipper here just because, I mean, I'm going slow. I'm going to have to keep clutching anyways. So it's just entirely like whatever y'all's preference is in using that. Coming to a stop, the bike is incredibly lightweight, so I'm basically like not like struggling. You know, I've got my hands off of it, kind of throwing it around. The center of gravity is, it's not low, it's kind of like really, it feels like it's close to you. One of the things I always do say during these test ride videos is like towards the end of it, I try to offer criticism, and then I also say, like, you know, would I buy this motorcycle? I did buy this motorcycle, which should tell you guys a lot. I held out for this one specifically versus like the regular MT-09 model, most specifically because of this right here. Cruise control. Press in, turns it on, indicates there, you press down, you set it. Cruise control. You can basically rest your hand. That's awesome for longer trips. I've got that on a couple of my other bikes. So like once you have a bike with cruise control, whenever you go back to a bike without it, you're kind of like searching for it. You're like, oh man, like where's the cruise control, so that I can like kind of rest my throttle hand, you know, because after a while, you know, it does tend to kind of get numb a little bit, you know. So I'm gonna go ahead, we're gonna take it on the highway here, and I will tell you guys my feedback of this bike on the highway. But what I can tell you right off the bat, you know, with it being a hyper naked, no fairings or anything like that, it's not the best. As the handling on this thing is just amazing. Throwing it into leans and corners, like just no worry of scraping. It's awesome. Oh man, hopefully you guys are able to hear me over the wind noise, but I mean, you can probably tell by my camera angle, but I'm trying to get away from the wind, but there's just nowhere to get away from it. Oh, that's a good looking profile, right? I mean, you probably stand to lose a couple pounds on this profile, whatever. So yeah, it's pretty rough at highway speeds. Like like I said, there's no windshield, so like break up any of the wind. On my buddy Hobby's MT-09, I want to say it's like a 2018, he did have a small windshield for it, and so that is something that I'm looking to get. But as of now, I haven't seen any that are available for the 21 MT-09 SPs. That is the problem with buying a newer bike, is that like you kind of have to wait for the aftermarket to catch up. But Yamaha MT line is incredibly popular, and so I have no doubt that manufacturers will start getting products out for it as it becomes more readily available. This bike is really damn hard to find right now. Whenever I bought this one a few days ago, it was actually one of 2 currently available in the United States, so I got really lucky with being able to buy this one. Somebody actually had it bought before me, but they weren't able to get financing, and so it fell through, and I was like the next in line, so it kind of worked out for me. Yeah, not a ton of aftermarket parts available for it yet, unfortunately. Regarding like, you know, wind and whatnot, comfort on the highway, you're definitely taking a lot of that wind to your chest, to your upper arms, to your helmet. Like I said, there's absolutely nothing that you can get behind. Like way down here is where I'm like kind of getting away from the wind. I'm essentially laying flat on the bike right now. But it's a naked bike, there's no fairing, so it's not going to push through the wind like, you know, a fully faired bike would, you know, say like a Supersport, you know, CBR600RR. I've got one of those as well, and it just absolutely cuts through the wind like a hot knife through butter. You don't feel any of this resistance of the wind pushing you back like you do with a hyper naked or a naked bike at these speeds. How the bike performs at these speeds, the bike has no lack of power when it comes to highway. Say there's a car in front of me, or like I'm in a merge lane or whatever it may be. You guys saw like how fast I was able to get up to speed there. But you know, if I'm kind of like working my way through traffic or whatever, lucky for me right now there's not a ton of traffic. But yeah, if I wanted to work my way through traffic, you know, I'd just pull in clutch, downshift, and then speed up. No problem. You got plenty of power on tap. And that was just me shifting into 5th gear. You can pretty much go down into 4th gear if you want it. 5th, 4th. Yeah. One of the things with bikes that have plenty of power, such as this one, is that you can put yourself wherever you want in traffic, which is incredibly beneficial, and it makes it a bit safer than a bike that doesn't have as much power. You are in control versus if you're too slow, or your bike doesn't really have a lot of power, or if it doesn't perform well at like highway or top end speeds. You're kind of at the mercy of those around you, which on a motorcycle, I do not like to be at the mercy of these guys, because a lot of times they're not paying attention, they're on their phones, you know, listening to music too loud, whatever it may be, they're distracted. And so it's like having the power to be able to like place yourself wherever, get away from them, is really nice. An example, so that's in 6th gear. I didn't even shift down. Plenty of power, guys. The only downside is just, whoo, you are absolutely taking a beating from the wind on this thing. Even riding like an hour in conditions like where you're just like fighting the wind, dude, it wears you out. Like you reach your destination and you're just kind of beat up. I guess regarding comfort, just to kind of touch back on ergonomics, the rider triangle on this thing is incredibly comfortable, and so your seating is upright. My back is straight, my arms are out. Oh yeah, cruise control, you can roll forward on throttle or tap brake or turn it off there. Multiple different options to turn cruise control off. How about that auto blipper though? You could definitely do some distance on this thing. You're not like scrunched up like you are on a sport bike, and the pegs on this are actually adjustable. Mine came with them in the bottommost position. I do like to offer a criticism in test ride videos. Like I said, would I buy it or not? Well, the question of would I buy it or not, yes, I bought it, so that should speak volumes. Biggest criticism though, and it's not really a criticism because it is a hyper naked motorcycle, but you know, highway like handling, it's just really like pretty miserable, to be honest. But for a lot of the previous year FZ or MT-09s, they do make, you know, like windshields for them, and so I'm definitely going to be on the lookout to see if anything comes up for this, which I'm sure it will over time as the aftermarket catches up. and that should really help to control a lot of that wind that you're taking, you know, to the chest and to the arms, probably more to the chest, because it's like you don't want like a huge windshield on it. I mean, my overall thoughts, like, absolutely awesome motorcycle. In terms of value, you know, this thing retails for $10,999, and the amount that you get for that in terms of like the power, the technology, cruise control, you've got LEDs all around, you've got adjustable front and rear suspension, Oline suspension at that, quick shifter, auto blipper. It's a really incredible bang for your buck. I mean, one of the biggest reasons that I held out is because it wasn't that much more, like the MT-09 SP wasn't that much more expensive than the MT-09. For me, it was a no-brainer. Whenever you think of just those components, that alone, just to buy those components, is going to be more than the difference, the cost difference of the MT-09 versus the MT-09 SP. If you're paying labor to have them installed, like, you're talking of even more money. So, like I said, for me, no-brainer. And then one of the biggest things, one of the biggest reasons that I chose this bike was the cruise control. Now, the suspension test, brick paver road, suspension is awesome. Can't wait to get it tuned for me. It's going to be even better. This is brand new for me. You know, like I said, can we change this on the fly? Yeah, we can. Just don't hit the cop that's in front of me. It's kind of hard to change on the fly, especially on bumps. Yeah, I've got 131 miles on it. Oh, 131, that's fun. Stock exhaust, like, actually sounds kind of good when you're in a parking garage. All right, well, there you go, guys. That is the test ride and review. Hope it was insightful. If you guys did enjoy it, do me a favor, be sure to hit that like button. Hitting that like button lets YouTube know that we are doing a good job with these videos. So would be very appreciative if you guys could hit that like. If you enjoy Moto content and you guys aren't subscribed, you want to continue to see more Moto content like this, do me a favor also and hit that subscribe button, hit that bell icon so it sends you notifications of future uploads and activity. Until next time, you guys ride safe out there. Stay vigilant. Catch you guys in the next one. Peace.